Alright, so Battlefield 2042 has gone down as probably one of the more disappointing games in recent history. You know, it's up there, it's just been a total train wreck, but apparently DICE thinks the reasons for it being a train wreck are more focused around the fact that Halo came out. EA executives blame Halo and COVID for Battlefield 2042's failures. Listen, I'm sure that the worldwide pandemic did throw a wrench into the development for this game. You know, I'm gonna say by all means that probably did make things a little bit more difficult. It probably did put a little bit more stress on the game, probably did rush things a little bit more. So I'll say that, dude. But, you know, what I don't really understand is how Halo had anything to do with your game flopping. Even COVID itself, sure, it slowed things down. Plenty of other studios have managed to release games that weren't absolute donkey crap during the same period, you know? And as for like just blaming another game, bro. Oh, Fortnite. Why is Fortnite having running issues? You guys don't understand. PUBG came out. I know it was the other way around, but like that's how silly this is, dude. You guys launched a broken game. Halo has nothing to do with it. You guys could have delayed it again. You guys could have simply pushed it back and you decided to release it in its current state and that backfired. You know, I understand that's probably not something you guys are super stoked on, but I feel like keep trying to shift the blame to everything other than the fact that like they shouldn't have released it in the state it was in. And, you know, we agree that a worldwide pandemic was going on and made things harder. We agree Halo came out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're entitled to, like, take money from customers for a product that you know isn't very good. While the game has its fans, there's no escaping the fact that the wider context, Battlefield 2042's launch has been a disaster for EA. Fans' reception has been hostile, player counts have dropped like a stone, and the company won't even disclose how many games have been sold. With the game having been out for 3 months now and things far from improving, a report on Xfire says that EA executives recently held an internal town hall where not only was the game described as a miss, but a number of reasons were put forward for its calamitous launch, and this was all in order to try to plot a path out of this mess. Remember, games this big aren't allowed to die. I don't know why, you know, I'm not saying every EA executive was like this or is like this, but I could just see a situation where they're sitting there, you know, and they're like, why is the game not successful? I don't understand. We added microtransactions and weapon skins. Why won't they play it? Did you ever think about making the gameplay good? And they're like, why would we do that? How does that benefit our profit margins at all? Everyone knows that people don't play video games to have fun. They play video games to pay us. Duh. You know, I mean, obviously there's a lot more issues with Battlefield 2042 than just microtransactions. That's just gaming in general that it feels like we're being milked for our money. Battlefield 2042 is a lot less understandable because the game itself just doesn't like to, you know, do the whole running thing. I don't understand what could be really said in this town hall. Obviously it was a miss. Everyone hated it. It's not running very well. That being said, what do you guys say other than like, oh, we probably should have polished the game more and made sure, I don't know, it works before we release it? Like the fact that there needs to be a town hall to figure out what went wrong here is kind of mind-boggling to me because it's extremely obvious to everybody that's just been like paying attention to what the customers are saying. Obviously, you know, the customers aren't executives, so they simply cannot understand the complexities of business. I feel like when you're EA and you're already known for having a horrible reputation, it's so much riskier to release garbage because the backlash is going to be worse. So I just don't know why they even take the risk to release these half-finished games. Obviously, because it used to sell, but I'm assuming they're not releasing how much the game has sold because they don't want people to know that it's not doing too hot. Player numbers dropping usually means that you sold a bunch at the start and people aren't really buying it now. You know, I don't know, they haven't released the numbers, but I'm gonna assume not releasing sales data is not a good sign. Moving on to the factors blamed for such launch woes, Meal cites everything from the aging Frostbite engine. The Frostbite version they were on was so old they had to go back and update it, so it was basically putting it on a new engine, to the pandemic. Add a global pandemic halfway into the project where games teams had to work from home, and we ended up with more new variables in the project than we'd experienced before. To the bug count, which was at historical levels for a DICE game. Yeah, man, no one's crapping on the developers for, like, having to have done their job during the pandemic. I think everyone's understanding of that. This is one thing I feel like game companies do often, and it's like, I don't think anyone is really annoyed that the developers had to work hard on the game, okay? We all agree that crunch time for developers isn't nice either. What we're annoyed with is the fact that, like, multi-billion-dollar corporations keep releasing what is the video game equivalent of a half-polished turd, letting us fork over our hard-earned dollars, and then when we're pissed pissed that the product is dog crap. They're like, you guys don't understand. It's really hard to make games. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's why you're getting paid all this money, you morons, is to figure stuff out. You know, no one's mad at the developer. We're mad at the executive. There's not a single developer that could have done anything about a worldwide pandemic. There's not anything a single developer could have done about, you know, these things. But the executive team that saw the finished product and still decided to release it, it's still kind of on you. You know, whether or not Halo released doesn't matter. You guys still released that game. And it's just frustrating that it's like, if I dare to say that I don't like the fact that you guys made me spend the money on this game, somehow now I'm like against the developers because they had to work hard because it was COVID. Well, yeah, they had to work hard because it was COVID. But even if it wasn't, you guys still would have pushed them and released whatever the game was like. Let's be honest. It's not like Battlefield has had a great reputation with the last couple releases. Video games in general haven't. It feels like most studios are just rushing stuff out the door and then like getting mad at us when we don't like it. One final and very funny reason he cited was Halo Infinite, a game that's not Battlefield, that came out around the same time and created a comparison for multiplayer shooter fans that was not favorable because Halo Infinite was polished, whereas our title contained bugs and wasn't as polished. Some of those factors, like the pandemic, are completely understandable. Others, like the Frostbite engine, I have less sympathies with because it's their engine, and bringing up Halo, a game that's had its own problems, is very funny. Yeah, I feel like Halo Infinite, you know, it's definitely doing better than Battlefield 2042, but I wouldn't say that people are saying it's the game of the year. It's just Battlefield 2042 was such a pile of dog turds that, like, anything by comparison looked like a Pablo Picasso painting. You know what I mean? Like, Halo Infinite's been a solid game, don't get it twisted, but it's not like it's this intergenerational title that's just uniting gamers on all fronts. No, the fact that they think one of the main reasons Battlefield 2042 flopped has anything to do with Halo shows that, like, the gaming industry is just not very self-aware. And once again, no hate to the developers. I don't think the developers are the problem. It's the people in charge of the developers that are telling them what to do and when to release stuff and forcing it out on a certain date. I don't think the developers are sitting there like, haha, we're gonna release this game that's not done. I don't feel like that's what's happening here. I don't want it to get twisted. But these executives being like, you don't understand, a game came out at the same time. Yeah, your game has to be better than the competition. That's like the whole point. You know, you don't get money if you release stuff that's worse than the other stuff people released. It makes sense. Like, I don't know what they expected. Did you expect no game to ever come out and compete with Battlefield 2042? Some game was going to come out and compete with you, whether it was Call of Duty, Halo, you know, Counter-Strike, it doesn't matter. Something was gonna happen. So I don't understand how any of this has to do with the fact that you guys released a buggy mess. They wouldn't have realized it was as buggy of a mess if they didn't release something less bad at the same time, is basically the reasoning here. What's interesting here is seeing an EA executive provide this handy list of things to blame for the game's busted launch, and none of those things involve the executives. Sure, everything brought up aside from Halo was a factor for the game being confused or undercooked or buggy, but the decision to push ahead and release the game in late 2021 regardless wasn't made by the people making it, it was made by the people selling it. If blame is being thrown around internally, then surely those who insisted it release in this state, rather than delay it and try to fix it and improve things, deserve their fair share as well. Yeah, no, you clearly have never worked in a corporate environment before. Why would executives ever take the blame? If they did that, then they might get fired. Instead, you just have to shove all your problems onto the people that are underneath you, and then you keep getting promoted. It's a magical system. I don't know if that's actually how it works at EA, to be fair. You know, I'm not saying anything about how their, like, managerial process works. I'm just saying from my experience with work, it tended to be that, like, you know, the bosses were never at fault. Never. Why would the boss ever do anything wrong? It was us peon morons that messed up their hard work. Obviously, the developers should have been able to invent a time machine, go into the future, see how bad the game was going to be, and then worked even more to make it better before they released it. Come on, guys. Why would the executives take blame? It's Microsoft's fault. If Halo wouldn't have come out, this game would be the #1 game of all time, and anyone who doesn't see that is just blind. Seriously, dude, I just feel like at this point the gaming industry is like, just a revolving door of some companies that are great, but mostly just releasing half-finished poop, and then, like, fixing the half-finished poop by the time the next half-finished poop comes out, and we're just stuck in a cycle of playing poop. It's not fun. Anyways, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the video. I just thought this story was nuts, so I figured I would share it with y'all. If you enjoyed, be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the video, and of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on those notifications. On that note, guys, that'll do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see each and every single one of you guys next time with another video. I'm out. Peace.